Well, g'day viewers, and once again, welcome back to Aussie Backyard Food. Well, I'm in need of a seriously big Aussie backyard breakfast today because it's a big day. It's my favourite day of the year. It's when I get to harvest that liquid gold that, as you know, if you watched any of my previous videos, I treasure dearly. And it wouldn't be an Aussie backyard breakfast if it wasn't for the fact that all of this homegrown goodness you see before you, well, it was grown right here in my very own Aussie backyard. You see, around here we don't talk in terms of food miles, but more food meters. Everything you see before me was grown within a 50-metre radius of my back door. And you might ask, why the hell go to all that effort? Well, the answer is simple. It makes me feel good. Science is waking up to the nutritional importance of old-fashioned food. That's what this is all about. Real food for real people. And I feel like I'm living evidence of the benefits of real food on a real person. Yeah, I'm no scientist, but I know what I read and I know what I like. And I know how I feel. The contrast between supermarket food and real homegrown organic food is becoming more and more stark. Never more so than in recent months. You might recognise these squeeze packs, and I'm not going to go into brands. I can't afford to be sued. Here we have a jar of my own homegrown, home harvested honey, backyard honey. Here we have a squeeze pack. Will you stop moving around? Recently, it's been uncovered that much of the honey on our supermarket shelves here in Australia contains a significant proportion of liquid sugar syrup. I don't know how you feel about that, but it turns my stomach. Anyway, thanks for staying still. I've got breakfast to eat because I've got a big day in front of me. Let's rip in. Isn't she beautiful? Look at that. Okay, happy viewers, welcome to my apiary. Well, it's early May here in the Blue Mountains, so that means the nights are getting quite cool. This is going to be my one and only extraction for this season, which is unusual, and that's because it's been a particularly rough season, and not just difficult for me. Beekeepers around the state of New South Wales, Australia, where I live, have reported record low honey harvests. And when you're a beekeeper like me that doesn't feed their bees sugar syrup, it's a noticeable impact. I definitely could have done a harvest in the middle of summer because I know this box upon inspection was full, but because of time constraints and family commitments, I decided to put it off. I'm going to start on this old favourite 10 frame Paradise honeybee box. Without fail, it's been my star performer over the years that I've had it in place. And as I've mentioned before, it's critical when you're beekeeping to be prepared. Well, let's face it, as in most areas of life, it doesn't hurt to be a little bit organised. So we've got our smoker well lit. I've got my boxes ready to fill and put lids on, and because I've got 60,000 fairly determined bees with fairly effective weapons, I've got a bee suit. As you know, I don't always wear the bee suit, but when I'm harvesting, I think it's a very important piece of kit. Voila! The power of TV. Come in and have a closer look. There we go, and the smell is pretty damn good. These bees are nice and quiet today. I haven't spoken too soon. Yep, beautiful. Now this is a frame that I inserted around about 8 weeks ago because of the fact that this top box was completely full and I wanted this colony to get back to work because they'd knocked off basically. So as you can see, they haven't quite got this one full and capped off yet, so I'm going to leave that on them and that'll serve to be a supply for them, and we'll worry about harvesting that sometime next season. All right, here's another one of those newer frames which will stay. Just a bit of fresh nectar there. Pollen and nectar, that'll stay. There we go. It's all settled down a bit, eh? All right. Now this is one of the frames that I stole from my 10 frame Paradise Honey Bee box, and it's just as it was when I pinched it. So anyway, we won't give these girls credit for this one. And same again. And again. Let's see what lies beneath. Oh God, that looks beautiful. You know, it's one of the advantages of being a beekeeper and not needing to worry about cured honey. So I'm not putting this in storage, I'm just putting it straight in the cake hole. My God. That is a new flavour. Probably Banksia. It's what they're bringing a lot of in at the moment. A lot of uncapped there. I'm going to leave that one alone. But just look at that. My mouth is watering. Full on. It's not dripping out. Oh, gotta watch that foundationless stuff, as I just demonstrated. It's not dripping out, but you know what? I'm going to leave this behind. I just don't want to take the risk on a whole batch. All right, I wasn't actually going to show you this hive and what they've managed to create, but just how different the colour is in the comb in this colony. I think we might be in for a bit of a liquid gold bonanza here. Look at that. There you can see the bees have started emptying that out. So I can take from that that what remains will be fully ripened honey. And as you can see, that side's nicely capped. Jesus, look at the size of this one. My goodness, that might even be a record by my standards. That is just so heavy. Look at the thickness of that frame, people. I split this colony around about 18 months ago, and it's just gone from strength to strength ever since. Oh, some nice capped frames here. Oh, that's heartening. Yep, and they've emptied that side out, and on their way to emptying that side out. But it says good things. There may be a couple of honey frames that we can pinch from down below. Okay, folks, we're back in the lab. As you can see, not a huge harvest this year, but that's the way it goes sometimes with anything that relies on the environment. There's unpredictability. It's good to know that I've got all my colonies through an extreme summer, however, and we've just got to roll with the punches. As I stated previously, I'm not going to be the type of beekeeper that starts feeding his bees sugar. That's just my call. No judgment on those that choose to. I just like to know that my honey is 100% sourced from my local environment. So let's have a bit of a look through the equipment. This year, and for this extraction, I've taken the suggestion of one of my loyal viewers, Joshua Ruland. Thanks, mate. I think he called it a twin bucket system. So basically, it's these two interlocking rectangular buckets. The top one, we've inserted a mesh screen to catch and hold back all the cappings, thereby allowing the honey to drip through into the second bucket, which of course has our tap on it, which will then drain into our bucket with the strainer on top. We've got our extractor, and as I found with previous extractions, this thing shakes around like a wild freaking bucking bronco. I've screwed it down to a couple of nice big slabs of timber. And just one more thing before we rip in. In the interest of not wasting a single drop of our precious liquid gold, which this year is even more precious as our harvest wasn't a huge one, I plan to use my honey-soaked cappings to make a nice mead. So I have all my mead making equipment on standby and all the extra ingredients ready to go. One of which is some frozen blackberries that I set aside from my summer blackberry harvest. So it's going to be a really exciting combination of local ingredients to see what sort of a blackberry flavoured mead, or mellow mel to be specific, we'll come up with from that combo. Now folks, you know I'm not against trying out new things, so keep those suggestions rolling in. Speaking of rolling, I'm going to try a new uncapping method this time around. It's a spiked roller style of uncapper. Let's see how that works out. Oh, look at all that sticky goodness. I see the challenge straight away is going to be making sure that all of those single individual cells gets perforated. A little bit fiddly, but I think if there's an advantage in this method, it'll be that the wax comb remains relatively undamaged. Oh, love that sound. And one other little tip I've found from previous experience, it's good when using a centrifugal type of extractor to try and balance your frames out. So if you're going to have two light frames, it's best to have them opposite each other. Two heavy frames, once again, have them opposite each other to try and minimise that rocking and rolling that's inevitably going to be potentially a little too hard to handle for those less prepared beekeepers, that is. And as you know, if you've watched any of my other honey extraction episodes, it wouldn't be an Aussie backyard food experience, or not a full one, without a bit of taste testing. There's some beautiful flavours going on in that frame. Almost peppermint. You know what, guys? I keep coming back to this thing. The simplicity of it, you just can't beat. And because of Joshua Ruland's suggestion, the man that motivated me to build this twin bucket system, I really don't think I'm going to have a problem with cappings clogging up things. It's just so light, so easy to move and manoeuvre. You know, the roller, it's already clogged up. So I've got to give the old uncapping roller a fail, I'm afraid. Here we have some more nice dark honey. Be keen to give this one a taste test. God damn. Raisins. It's time to give this honey wheel a whirl. Try a bit of olive oil lubricant to get rid of that squeak. There you go. Another one of nature's miraculous products. Wouldn't you think all those frames would be just about even by now, and therefore not shake the hell out of this extractor? But I have found that because my apiary is situated within a whole bunch of Leptospermum or Jellybush, as sometimes often known in Australia here, which the name gives away some of the characteristics of the honey. It's quite thick and viscous, almost jelly-like. It makes it a little bit hard to get out of the frames, and that perhaps could be what's going on, what's causing an imbalance in my extractor right now. Let's have a look. Okay, that's pretty empty. That's still quite heavy. Yep. Jellybush honey, aka Manuka. It's what the Chinese will pay hundreds of dollars a kilo for. Look at that jelly. Look at the thickness of it. No wonder I'm having trouble getting it out of the frames. Amazing. But they say it'll give you superpowers. I don't think I really stand a hope of getting the honey out of that. It's just embedded in there. That's going to be the perfect use for my mead. In fact, it'll probably entitle me to call it a Manuka blackberry melomel mead, and therefore, well, I don't sell it, so I don't really make any extra money out of it, but it'll sound good. For a lot of beekeepers, Manuka or Jellybush is just a pain in the arse. Such a stroke of genius for New Zealand beekeepers to turn such a negative into a positive and make a shitload of money out of it. There you go. Still pretty much as full as it was when I uncapped it. Okay, this is finally a bit of a lighter looking frame of honey. Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
I'll do anything I can, I'm your beekeeper man. I got a steady hand, baby, please understand. I know you can.
There we go. No wonder I'm having trouble getting it out of those frames. Fully thick, bro. Fully thick. Look, I'm not sure, and I'm not going to go to the expense and trouble of working out just what the active concentration of that Manuka element is, but I'm spinning the shit out of these, and just have a look. It's fair dinkum jelly honey. Get a knifeful of that, my friends. 100% organic, sugar free, and straight from the bees to me. God damn. Well, folks, you know you're getting on in years when cup of tea time becomes a necessity. You also know that you're getting on in the day when it's cup of tea time. That's good. Before I rip into this frame, I just wanted to make a bit of a deal out of it. Look at the beauty of that, people. That's probably the thickest frame my bees have ever put together, and because of that I'm going to take a bit of time and enjoy just carving the face off with a bread knife. Let's indulge ourselves. I'm glad for the fact that I'm going to be able to wash a lot of these cappings out and make use of the honey through making some top quality mead. Just look at how slow that is draining through that sieve. That's all I've managed to collect through that sieve in, what is it now? 4.5 hours. Same goes for this bucket. Check this frame out. After multiple high speed spins through the extractor, we've still got this thick syrupy honey stubbornly staying within the frames. Just look at how that stands proud of that knife there. That's basically solid honey in a jelly form. Joshua Ruland, you rule, bro. Your twin bucket draining system just works a treat. And it's come at the perfect time with this thick, difficult to extract honey and the masses of cappings that I've got from such a relatively small harvest. It's the only way I'm going to get the honey out of it. Bit of a crush and strain effort going on here, and of course I'll be able to clean up a lot of that by washing it out and turning it into mead. So we've had our wax cappings draining overnight and bugger all's happened. I've reached the conclusion that cool weather and Jellybush honey aren't a real good combination. So I've brought all my cappings indoors, and I've lit the fire. It was not such a bad thing on a day like today anyway, because it's quite cool. So we'll see if that speeds the process up a little. Well, viewers, thus concludes another episode of Aussie Backyard Food, and thus concludes another honey harvest. It wasn't a big one, as you could see, probably only 25 kilos, but as I get older, I find that my focus turns more to quality over quantity, and the quality of this liquid gold cannot be disputed. It's a lovely, dark, full-flavoured honey this time round. Of course, with a certain concentration of that magical ingredient we call manuka. There was roughly 5 to 6 kilos of honey still remaining embedded within that wax that I was able to wash out, and I'm hoping to turn into a lovely, full-bodied, full-flavoured blackberry spiced mead that should go nicely in a couple of months when it's ready, as we sit in front of the fire and reflect on summer's adventures. And of course, it's always good to be able to render down some of those cappings to turn into some wax, which I've got no idea what I'm going to use for. Some candles perhaps, a bit of face moisturiser, could always do with a bit of that. But once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, my viewing audience, for all your support, all those insightful comments and questions. It really is you that keeps me inspired and pushes me on to new frontiers in my Aussie backyard. So, cheers. Thanks again, and I'll catch you next time, right here in my Aussie backyard.
Purple haze, all in my mead. Lately I've been feeling the need. It's got me worried, and I don't know why. Excuse me while I kiss this guy.